Micro-fucking soft. Core porn. I'm terrible with openings to videos. Now, don't get me wrong. Microsoft as a whole, as a company, is doing perfectly fine. But we're turning our attention to the Xbox brand, better known as probably the shittiest brand currently on the market. With the Nintendo Switch doing so well, the PlayStation 4 exceeding, and the PC market dominating, one begins to question what has slowed down the pace of the Xbox brand. Why is the gap between them and their biggest competitor, aside from the PC, so dramatically large? Why have nearly all the gaming communities lined up and have taken turns to bitch slap around the Xbox brand and Xbox fanboys? It seems as if the Xbox's failure has given rise to the fanboys, primarily the PlayStation fanboys, and I've already spoken on that. But even then, it's completely understandable as to why this brand is getting dissed so badly, and I'm all good with bullying fanboys. It's great. Collecting the tears that run down the cheeks of crap gamer is as delicious as root beer float. But simultaneously, if you're a die-hard fan for the PlayStation brand, and you're celebrating the sinking ship of the Xbox brand, you're pretty much screwing yourself over. It's no secret that these two brands compete with each other. And the more they compete, the more pro-consumerism comes out of them. It's like squeezing a sponge. As a consumer, you want the brand competing with your brand to be doing good. But I mean, a part of me is kind of glad that I'm on the PC. There's no limit to the competition over here, but oh god, I can't even help inserting my elitism sometimes, can I? It's clear Microsoft is no longer ignoring the fact that the Xbox brand is so far behind, and their current pro-consumer practices is a clear indication of that. Xbox Play Anywhere, Xbox Game Pass, Xbox Free Play Days, a new fucking Xbox adaptive controller that helps disabled people play games. Where are all these pro-consumer things coming from? The Microsoft I remember tried duping PC gamers and getting them to pay for online. That all lasted about, what, a fucking week? In reality, all these moves Microsoft is making for the Xbox brand are amazing moves. Things that Sony and Nintendo aren't even bothering to do. And yet, nobody cares. Nobody is magically flocking over to the Xbox brand out of nowhere suddenly for these things. And why is that? Certain fanboys may say it's because the Xbox has no games, even though the Xbox has plenty of games. Granted, they're shared with the PC, but that doesn't necessarily take away from the fact that if you want to play them on a console, you can only play them on the Xbox. Others say it's because the standard hardware isn't as capable as the PlayStation 4, but even then, the Nintendo Switch has taken off with some of the most piss-poor hardware. The truth is, all these moves Microsoft is making are moves they should have made from the beginning. Let's take a trip back to 2013, probably one of the worst moments in the Xbox brand's history, aside from the red ring. But then again, that wasn't all that bad because I did build a coffee table out of all those broken Xboxes. Imagine you're just barely getting off the road of an incredibly successful console and you're ready to reveal the next iteration. People are anticipating. You have no reason to fail. And that's exactly what you fucking do. You reveal a price point that's bigger than your competitors, and yet it has weaker hardware. You force people to purchase the console with a peripheral that nobody wants or cares about. You put a heavier emphasis and focus on multimedia usage rather than anything that will really enhance the gameplay experience.
With exciting new ways to play and have fun.
Fucking bullshit!
And then the darkest moment, the nail in the coffin that hit the Xbox brand, the DRM. Basically, it was from this point that any consumer that was on the Xbox boat jumped ship and swam all the way to the PlayStation brand. It was this moment in gaming history that nobody was going to trust Microsoft anymore. The only people that decided they even wanted to stay was the hardcore, dedicated fan base. Basically, the people who knew everything Microsoft was doing was complete, utter bullshit. And yet they still handed their money over because they love the Xbox brand. They have fond memories with the 360. They wouldn't let the pride they had for this brand go. And because of that, Microsoft shamelessly took their money. Well, we must be doing something right because people are still buying this shit. And thus began a trend of fanboys killing a brand and making it worse by continuously supporting it even though it was complete, utter garbage. Now, there are many that argue that the Xbox brand is a sinking ship because it simply doesn't have exclusives or games to compete with the PS4, when history has shown us time and time again. While exclusives do play a role in giving a console its identity, even though I think that's a flawed business practice, they are not what ultimately determines the success of a console. We can look at the GameCube, the Nintendo 64, the Wii U, the Sega Saturn. Exclusives are not the rule to determining the success of a console. Ultimately, what does make a console successful is the marketing behind it, the time and the place, and the right moves. And sadly, these are things Microsoft did so poorly at the beginning of this generation. They launched with what was the most abysmal console launch in history, not in sales, but in marketing. What was being presented was a multimedia cable box, with gaming taking a step back from all of that. And because of this reason, Sony was able to propel and have a huge head start. And from there, Sony continuously pumps out great games, which keeps their console on track to being successful. But in terms of services provided, pro-consumerism, and more benefits, the Xbox brand has a lead. Unfortunately, that lead is far too late. There's of course the old saying, better late now than never. For those that do own an Xbox are benefiting from these things. Theoretically, let's say Microsoft was pumping out 10 out of 10 exclusives at this very moment. Would this then tie them with the PlayStation 4? No, probably not. The reputation of the Xbox brand has been tarnished, and for the rest of this generation is unrepairable. No amount of exclusives can fix that. No amount of pro-consumer practices is going to get people to jump ship and swim back to the Xbox brand. What Microsoft is doing now is keeping their current consumers as happy as possible, giving them the best console hardware, giving them the best services, and trying to hold on to what they have left. Do I feel all these pro-consumer practices Microsoft is throwing out all in vain? Not necessarily. While all these moves certainly isn't going to get Sony to be budging anytime soon and putting out services just as great, it is starting to set a new standard. For console users anyway, because you know, like I said, I'm here on the PC. I already get all these benefits and more. Elitism aside, if Microsoft launches their next console generation with all these pro-consumer practices set in place alongside a good library of games, then I see another chance for the Xbox brand, and that's only a good thing for console gamers. It would then push Sony to do the same, and perhaps, maybe, just maybe, even Nintendo. Of course, currently, it's hard not to see all of these moves Microsoft is making as disingenuous. It feels far more desperate than competitive, but of course that's how any move a company would make would seem when they're the ones playing catch up. Was I defending the Xbox brand? Yeah, maybe kind of a little. In general, I still think consoles are garbage, and I have absolutely no care in the world for them, but ultimately I do care about how they influence the PC gaming market. All we can hope for is that consoles do succeed, because when they succeed in certain areas, things on the PC side get better, because then, well, we start to notice how many more advantages we have at that point. Anyways, not entirely sure how you gaylords feel about this entire situation. Let me know down in the comment section below. And if you stumbled across my video and hate me and my guts, why not hit that subscribe button so that you can dislike all my videos? Oh yeah, and be sure to follow me on Twitter and jump on the Discord. Other than that, I'll be seeing all of you faggots later.
Fritanga sucks ass.